It's hard to believe that it's been about 9 years since my health has drastically changed. I went from being on a ton of medications to just having a drastic difference. And there's a lot of hope in that story that I wanted to be able to share with others. Hi, my name is Juanita. I'm a nutritionist and skin specialist, and I just love helping women find simple solutions to nourish their whole body and heal up their skin. That was my story, and I want to offer that hope. And so, going back, I'll start at the beginning. When I was a little girl, quite healthy, super athletic. I remember being in grade 1, and all the kids kind of voted me on VIP day as being the fastest runner. I remember being super athletic and just running, climbing, swimming, all of that kind of stuff. I loved it. And by the time I was 4, so around that same time, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and I was given a topical steroid. So right from the age of 4 years old, I was using topical steroids, and that was probably applied to my skin every single day. I had a skin autoimmune condition. By the time I hit grade 4, I remember that I was overweight. I was the largest girl in the class. I remember, I think in grade 5, there was a new student who came to the school, and she was larger than me. And to not put this politically correct, she was fatter than me. That's how my brain worked. I was always thinking about, I'm the fattest. And she only stayed at the school for a couple of weeks. So I was pretty bummed that after she moved away again, I was once again the largest girl. And I wasn't huge by any means, but I definitely wasn't fit. I couldn't run anymore. So in PE class, I wasn't able to keep up with the class. I was like huffing and puffing at the back of the class. I wasn't healthy. Something had changed. And we didn't really know. That was just what happened. My parents were like, let's try to eat better, but I just wasn't healthy. By the time I got my period, so a couple years after that, I was in grade 7 and I got my period, I really struggled with a lot of menstrual cramps. I was in so much pain. So at that point, I regularly started taking painkillers, pain medications, in the form of like ibuprofen or Midol, acetaminophen, that kind of thing. So I was 12 years old and I started taking that quite regularly. I would take 8 or 10 painkillers on day 1, maybe 6 or 8 the next day, more the next day, and then it would taper off. So that's a lot of pain medications for someone who's only 12 years old. I also excessively sweated. I was constantly sweating. I put on a new shirt and within like 5 minutes, my armpits would be soaked through. Now it wasn't smelly, but it was just, I was just always sweating and I was so embarrassed. And I still had my skin rashes, so my skin on my scalp would bleed. Sometimes the skin on my hands would like crack open and they would like bleed as well. And I really started feeling self-conscious about my weight. So there was periods of time where I stopped eating. I would go several days or a week with very minimal eating. I would nibble at stuff so that people felt that I was actually getting nutrition and food, but I actually wasn't. I could drop 10 pounds in a week, and so that was just kind of how I controlled things, doing that, but definitely not healthy habits by any means. Then I developed this weird skin stuff going on my face. My veins within my face, like through my nose and on this side and through the cheeks, they started to look like little spider veins, kind of like just bleeding out. So I had all these veins popping up through my cheeks, under my eyes, and on my nose there. And so we were actually living in another country at the time, and our healthcare system was back home. And so we were emailing photos back and forth, trying to figure out what was going on with my skin. So I was prescribed antibiotics, and I stayed on antibiotics for 4 years, which is a really long time to be on, especially without any gut repair afterwards. And so that can be quite damaging. And but it was working on my skin. Those veins started clearing up and going away, most of them, and as well as all my acne cleared up. So I was like, yes, I no longer have acne. And so I was grateful for the antibiotics and didn't want to stop them. So when my doctor was like, your rash is cleared up, or your blood vessel issue is cleared up, let's take you off again, I was like, no, I'd like to stay on. So that's why I ended up staying on for 4 years. She was like, okay, just stay on. But it destroyed my gut. The time I was in high school, I was just so sick. every time, it seemed to be very cyclical. Every time I got my period, I would get sick. I'd catch whatever flu or cold was going on all around me, and I would be like off school, in bed, sick. My parents were a little bit of like diehards, like go to school anyway, so I still often went to school sick, but I did have sick days in that, and I was just always coughing and sick. And I remember after probably 4 or 5 months of that, oh, and one more fact, my period came every 3 weeks instead of every 28 days. And so this was really repetitive. It was happening a lot. And so I'd be sick the week of my period, then I'd be recovering for a week, and then I'd feel good for about a week, and then it would hit all over again. So after about 4 or 5 months of that, so probably 6, 7, 8 cycles, I would just cough. Like, I was actually sick. I was coughing so hard that I broke one of my ribs. Like, I cracked a rib from coughing, from just being unhealthy. And so yeah, this was just getting worse, and it's getting out of control, and I had such bad stomach pain. I remember like all my other friends and other kids in the high school are out having fun, or at the movies, or pizza party pop and all that kind of stuff, and I would be at home with so much digestive pain, and I used studying as an excuse. I do need a little bit of downtime, and I do like to read and study, so it wasn't completely untruthful, but I was using it as a method to hide behind the pain that I was dealing with. And so we were meeting with my doctor, trying to figure out what was going on. We had stomach x-rays, stool tests, blood tests, and it was inconclusive. We had no idea what I had. And so she was like, try this medication. Does it help? Next week, try this medication. Did it help? And nothing helped. I was just always in pain and always uncomfortable. And I learned to live that way. It was my norm. If I was going to go to school, graduate, I just had to suffer through this. And I'd be so gassy and in so much pain. And by the time, and I just hold everything in until I'd get home. And in the evening, I just felt like there was knives in my gut. There was just so much like pain built up within my body that, it just felt like stabbing knives in my gut every night. And we just never figured out what was going on. So I just lived with this, and that became my normal, but it wasn't any way to enjoy life. Sometimes when I would go out with other kids, we'd go to a youth event and we'd stop in at McDonald's. By the time I was done eating the food and we'd be driving home, and it'd be about a half-hour drive from that point, I would just be curled over fetal position, sitting on the bus with everybody else there having fun, and I would be just like dying inside, waiting to get home because I was in so much pain. So that's just no way to live. And then on top of that, one day in class, I passed out. I was just sitting there reading my textbook, and next thing I know is I had fallen forward and smashed my head onto the desk because I had passed out. And it was shortly after that we found out that I also I didn't have enough iron. So just everything was compounding. And knowing what I know now as a nutritionist, I look back and just know that my gut was so damaged, and that's all that was happening. My gut needed to be repaired, but I had no idea back then. And was just given more medications to keep trying. The excessive sweating that I was having happen. We used like a 24% aluminum lotion that we would rub on, or that I'd put on my armpits every single day to stop that sweating. So I was blocking all these eliminations. Our body uses our lungs, the air, to exhale toxins out of our body. It uses digestion, like pee and urine, to eliminate toxins. It uses sweat. So like when you're running and you're sweating all over, but specifically our armpits as well. It uses sweat to eliminate toxins, as well as our skin. It comes out of our skin as well. So many of my pathways were blocked. I was blocking my armpits. My skin was just bleeding and rashed, and issues going on, and my gut wasn't healthy. So the only thing that was working was my lungs. Thankfully, I had that going for me. But I was just a mess. So fast forward, I got married, and in my early 20s, and as a new wife, my skin rash started to spread across my body, and I was just really self-conscious and embarrassed by it. And my skin autoimmune condition was just rapidly spreading, and I was really, really embarrassed by it. And so I went to my doctor, and she was like, well, we can give you more steroids. And I was like, isn't there something else we can use besides steroids? And so she did a little bit of research, and she's like, we can give you a different strain of steroids, but you're still just going to be using steroids. And I was like, I don't really want to put steroids all over my body. I don't think that's healthy. And she's like, but you've been putting it on your head, like next to your brain, for 20 years. And I was like, I have been doing what? I just never gave it any thought because I started when I was 4 years old. I never gave consideration to the fact that, yeah, for 20 years and right next to my brain, I had been applying this to my body. So I checked the time. Got to pick my son up from school soon. So yeah, I was just a mess. So I started Googling. I didn't want to put more steroids on. So I started Googling and researching, and long story short, rabbit trail, I found a method to take control of my autoimmune condition. I figured out and learned what the triggers were. And so I went from always being in pain, always being like stiff in my body. Like sometimes I couldn't turn my head and neck. I was always going for massage and physio. I went from heavy periods where I was in so much pain that I was just dependent upon medications. I had headaches all of the time. I had this digestive issue. I was constantly gassy, which was so embarrassing. Just tons and tons of pain, just all throughout my body, tons and tons of pain, and all those other conditions I mentioned, skin rashes, acne, all that stuff, to trying this new lifestyle, new healthy habits in my life, and everything changed in only 30 days. And I tried it for another 60 days, and I had such radical differences. I had no longer had headaches. I went from taking probably an average of 30 painkillers a month, so that's like, we're talking over 300 painkillers a year, to, for the last like 8-9 years that I've been doing this, I only take about 5 a year, if that. Even in labor with my children, I didn't really need to use many pain medication options. In fact, I only took 2 Tylenol right when my labor onset with my labors. And so like I've gone from constantly being in pain to my body being able to fight that inflammation. And yeah, it's been such a blessing to not be in pain. It's been a blessing to have pain-free periods. That is just exciting. And I would want that for every woman. That should be our norm. Our norm should not be that we're in pain and having discomfort. My skin is cleared up. I hardly have any makeup on. I just have healthy glowing skin. People stop me on the street and they're like, what do you use on your skin? I don't use the topical steroids on my autoimmune skin condition anymore. I don't have eczema. And so, yeah, I have found these methods that we can use to help heal and nourish your entire body, as well as simple skin solutions to help clear up your skin. And so I hope you tune in for the next video that I'll be making, where I actually dive into what some of those things are that I used that radically changed my life. So if you found this helpful or encouraging, please subscribe. Or if you know someone who's going through a journey like this sounded a lot like mine, but they weren't well, they have been in so much pain, and they just feel hopeless. They feel like they don't have any options in their life except to take medications. Would you please share this video with them? And so that they can follow through, as well as I share my story, and that they can find hope for their own life. So thank you for listening. I'm so excited that you're here, and yeah, have a great day.